Hi, Bashar.
And you good day.
Thankfully, most people answered my questions already. So
Oh,
this should
all
be
right.
pretty
How
brief.
synchronous of you.
Just to clarify the extensions of Oversoul's terminology that you were just using.
Yes.
Is that what I would understand as a dispersed essence, as per how Elias describes it?
It can be that, although it can have many other meanings as well.
Okay. And then just continuing on with the Enneagram pictures.
Yes.
Where you mentioned that we can use them as a visual to download certain frequencies and energies.
Yes, they're kind of like phone numbers.
Okay.
So, for example, the one that we have often given before that has to do with our particular reality domain is the black background with the black equilateral triangle separated from the background by being bordered by a deep blue glow. Yes? You see that on the diagram? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that particular image translates in your reality in a way that puts you in touch with our particular frequency domain. So it's kind of like tapping into our phone number. So if you meditate on that picture, it translates in your brain into a certain frequency that puts you in touch with our particular domain.
Okay. So in using those frequencies as a tool to, I'm trying to follow, well, I am following my highest passion of
Thank you.
creatively writing, and I've set myself in a situation of employment where that can happen.
All right. Congratulations.
Almost. It can almost happen.
All right. Almost congratulations.
In using... It's not there yet. But so I feel like, especially the two outside, so the Esasani and the Yael symbols is something that I can use particularly
By all
of all of
means.
these.
And as I said, we will get deeper into them in tomorrow's transmission.
Okay. And the energetic receiver that I felt placed into my physical brain several months ago, is that also something that I can use to tap into this creative expression?
Of course.
Okay. Using those two symbols.
Yes.
Okay, good. And that was it. Thank you.
Is that it?
Yes, that's it. Thank
Oh,
you.
all right. Thank you.
Oh, actually, no.
Oh, all right.
Just to do with that, in blocking creative energy, and I know a lot of writers have this.
There is
writer's
really
block
no
terminology.
such thing.
No, exactly. But I felt that my body has reacted to that by a pain in my right shoulder.
Yes.
That is simply like right. And I haven't been writing. Is that a good, an accurate impression of how my physicality is?
Interpreting it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Block.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. So to uncreate that, is it just a simple?
Give the energy a flow.
Okay.
Don't block it up, so to speak.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes, that makes sense.
All right.
Okay.
Does that help?
It does help. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Hello, Tadea.
Nania.
Nice to talk with you again.
And you as well. Do you have questions from others?
I do.
All right.
Now, the first question is one that I know has been asked before, but this seems like a really good time to have you elaborate, maybe even more extensively, on the fundamental question, which is, what is our purpose in being here?
Your purpose in being where you are is to be yourself as fully as you possibly can. The way that you do that is by acting on your highest excitement to the best of your ability with no insistence on the outcome. That is all you all need to do. Your purpose then becomes giving life meaning, because life has no meaning without you. It is neutral. It is devoid of built-in meaning. It is an empty set of circumstances and props. You are designed as reflections of the infinite to give life meaning through your unique perspective. Whether positive or negative or neutral is up to you. But when you give the neutral life meaning, the neutral circumstances meaning, then that will determine the effect you get from it. This is your purpose, is to explore and experience and be who you are as best you can, so that simultaneously all that is, of which you are an extension, can thus, through all of you and all of us and all beings in creation, experience itself through all the different perspectives that we all represent, so that all that is can know itself truly as all that it is.
From other levels, what is the purpose? Because I know you're actually speaking from the personality perspective.
I am actually speaking from all levels. It is the same purpose. It is summed up in 2 words in your language: know thyself.
So part of this experience of learning how to work with the mechanism, or what you have in the past referred to as sort of like learning how to use the coffee pot.
Yes.
Which is learning how to live on planet Earth in the vibration that is the most truly your signature vibration.
Yes. The
And-
best cup of coffee you can make. Yes.
And so when you explain to us all of the nuances of how you go about manifesting the reality that's the most exciting for you, that allows you to be your full self the most completely,
Yes.
the idea behind that is that we came here without understanding how the mechanism works.
Yes.
And now we're becoming artists that are learning how to work with the mechanism
Yes.
and make the best cup of coffee.
You are learning how to master the mechanism. Yes. From this unique perspective. Because again, remember, the structure of existence never changes, never expands one little bit. But your experience of the structure, your perspective of the structure, your point of view of the structure, that's what constantly changes and will always continue to do so infinitely. And that's what allows creation to experience itself as expanding, discovering itself anew, again and 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 again, forever and ever and ever and ever. Because you can always have a different point of view of the same structure that never changes.
From the perspective of spirit, it's automatically expressing itself as fully as it can, isn't it?
It depends on the level of spirit. You can still have levels in spirit where you can still play some of the limitation game, but it's not played for the same reasons it might be played in a physical dream.
And from the oversoul's perspective,
It will again experience all these different levels, experiencing themselves in their unique ways, and will experience itself as the combination of all those unique ways simultaneously. It will experience itself as a collective of experiences.
and so when the...
Think about this for a moment.
Okay.
In many ways, you can experience yourself as a mini oversoul. In what you call the idea of remembering bits and pieces of your childhood, yes?
Yes.
In what you call being aware of bits and pieces of experiences you have as an adult, yes?
Yes.
In what you project into your so-called future as things that you dream of doing, all of these can be said to be experiences that are existing simultaneously, and in a sense, all these experiences, what you call past, present, and future, make up your total sense of yourself, your path, your destiny, your idea of who and what you are and what you wish to be and who you've been and so on and so forth. And that accumulated idea of all those things make up what you think yourself to be. So in a sense, you could say that's a very miniature version of an oversoul experience.
I can see that. And one of the interesting things that you've shared with us is that since you change moment to moment to moment to moment,
Yes.
that you also change your past
Yes.
when you do that.
Yes, because if you are truly a different person, then obviously, looking at it from a historical perspective, the only way you could actually have become a different person would be to have a different past.
So,
Therefore, you create the past from the present, not the other way around.
right. So it gets really interesting when you think of the idea that, well, if I was born in Tennessee,
Yes.
and then I become a different person, to what extent am I willing to allow myself to have even a different birthplace?
To whatever extent it is actually relevant for the theme that you're exploring. For some people, such a change will not be relevant. For others, it might be. And again, you don't actually know if you've already done that, because if you have changed your history that radically, it will still appear to be the history you always had, and you won't know that you might have had a different one a moment ago.
I think that is the most fascinating aspect of this, that it really reminds me of that movie, Back to the Future, where he would look at the photograph and the people would like disappear in the photograph depending on what was happening in the reality that he was in at the present moment.
Yes, in a sense. Now, the idea of time travel doesn't really work that way, but we understand the analogy, yes.
But the idea that as you change, that literally the photograph will look completely different
But
from
you
the
won't
past.
necessarily know that it does. You might. That can be part of the change, that you recognize that the photograph is different than it used to be. But for most people, they won't know whether it is different or not, because it will simply be what appears to be the photograph that's always been there, even though it may have been 10,000 other photographs 10,000 moments ago.
And you know, in a sense, we get this experience too when you return to a part of town or something like that where they've built all new buildings.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, I was here many years ago and it looked completely different.
Yes.
Well, actually, no. I've just shifted to a parallel reality.
Yes, that is already different.
And it's reflecting to me that I'm that much different because
Yes.
literally the buildings and the things that are there now with the present me are
is a different Earth. It's just that you create this illusion of continuity that just says that, well, it's the same Earth, but it's changed a little bit. And in fact, it's not. It's a completely different planet. And you're a completely different person. But you have maintained the idea, the illusion of continuity that says something's changed, something's different. So that's one version of maintaining the illusion or the knowledge that something has actually shifted. The idea of the 10,000 photographs that have changed that you may not be aware of, however, is also another good analogy for how the oversoul would experience things, because the oversoul would know about all 10,000 photographs.
And the purpose of experiencing these different realities, but in a linear sequence,
gives you the opportunity to experience the process of change, the mechanism of change, the experience of actually shifting, which from a timeless state you can't experience by definition. You have to create the illusion of space, the illusion of time, in order to have the experience called change.
and what is the purpose of process itself? I mean, why come here and have all these processes?
To discover yourself from a new point of view. Remember, the word is to discover yourself. In a timeless state, you can change instantaneously to a new point of view, but you will never experience the actual discovery process. That is an experience, a valid experience, another way of seeing, another way of experiencing. All that is just as valid as changing instantaneously is. But it's just another point of view. The actual discovery process is valid unto itself as a unique point of view, a unique experience.
And I remember you were mentioning that for us, most of us are going through the process right now
Yes.
of letting go of negative definitions.
Yes.
And that is what our process encompasses, discovering negative definitions
Yes.
and then changing them into positive definitions that work
Yes.
for us.
And when you reach a certain plateau, a certain vibrational state, the process will continue in physical reality, but it will no longer be a process of letting go of negative definitions. Once you are fully positive, there will be no more negative definitions to let go of, But you can still remain physical and go into fourth density and alter the process to be one of now, not letting go of negative definitions, but letting go of things that are simply no longer relevant to who you know yourself to be. It's an issue of streamlining, so to speak. No longer thinking about what to add, but thinking about what to take away, to get down to the core, the true essence of your being.
And we'll be looking at things like relevance in terms of the theme that we're exploring.
Yes, it will be mostly all about what is now relevant for who you deem yourself to be.
And when you talk about letting go of negative definitions, I wondered about this. It means you would never have a negative thought?
It means you can observe the idea of negativity. You can play with the idea of negativity. It's just that it will never have an effect because you will be looking at it from a neutral observational point of view.
So, for example,
It won't be real to you. It won't have substance to you. It will just be a neutral observation.
I mean, a very typical thing that will happen with somebody if you're stuck in traffic. You're like,
It's an orchestration.
Yep.
You're there for a reason. It may not always be your reason entirely, but it is for a reason. You may be serving someone else by being exactly in that spot at that time. You may be avoiding an accident down the road by getting stuck in traffic that you don't know about. You may be avoiding your own death by slowing down in a traffic jam. If you're going to be in a traffic jam, at least enjoy the flavor. Make some toast.
So if you have that sort of knee-jerk reaction where you're like, oh, this stinks, I don't want to be stuck
Then
in
you're not
traffic right
trusting
now.
the way your life unfolds.
So when you get to the point where you're no longer letting go of negative beliefs, you won't even entertain thoughts like that.
No, you may observe them, but you will not invite them over for tea and entertain them. Look at it this way. Do you see that you have a shadow on the ground?
Yes?
Well, look at it. Does it affect you in any negative way? It's a shadow. It's the opposite of the light. But you're just looking at it as a neutral phenomenology. It's just a shadow. Big deal. That's the way you will look at the idea of negative definitions, of negative energy. It's just a shadow. It needs to be there in order for you to perceive the light. So thank you, shadow. If it wasn't for the dark, I wouldn't see the light.
And why is it that we're all so afraid to fully be ourselves?
In many ways, it will be somewhat different for different individuals, but overall, on average, many of you are afraid to leave others behind by outstripping them, by outpacing them, by outdistancing them, because you're all in this together. And you want to go through the process together, and you want to have fun together, and somewhat that's the point. So sometimes it boils down to the idea of what you call fear of success, because you know that if you are really, really yourself instantaneously, you'll be so unlike everyone else that they may not be able to relate to you anymore. And many people are afraid of that. But if you understand that by being truly yourself in the way that's relevant, then excitement will take care of the relevance automatically and keep you at a pace that will leave no one behind. So there's nothing to fear. It will automatically organize itself. As we have said, excitement is the organizing principle. Your higher mind knows that you have a theme that you're exploring, and therefore if you're being your natural self, it's not going to let you become something that will defeat the purpose of what you chose to experience. So you don't have to be afraid to be yourself. The limitations that will be there will be positive limitations to make sure that you explore the team in perfect timing and are with your team that you decided to be with in exactly the way you need to be with your team.
And I think some people are afraid that they'll die or they'll transition out of this reality if they become such a high vibrational state.
And some of them might, but nevertheless, if they do, then that means it was time to do that. If it's not time to do that, they won't leave. They'll just change into a higher order physical being. You can ascend while still in physical reality, you know. That's what fourth density is all about. You will not leave before your time unless you simply choose to take your own life. Yes?
Yes, I thought you had said something to me recently about that because in the past or historically, if we reached a certain vibrational state,
Yes.
we would have automatically transitioned. But that now in this
Well, if you
age-
reach 333,000 cycles per second, yes, you will go into non-physical reality. But there is a large amount of frequency range before that in which you will actually be a much more ascended, much higher frequency physical being.
So if you only have positive thoughts and
If you only have positive
definitions and you only express yourself in a positive way while being aware of all of the negativity.
Yes, because you will become more aware of the negativity as you expand your consciousness, because you're becoming more aware of all that is, and all that is has both light and dark. So just because you become more aware of it doesn't mean something's wrong. It just means you're expanding your point of view. But that doesn't mean that the negativity has to affect you if you don't choose to prefer it. It's just about choosing what you prefer without invalidating what you don't prefer.
And as long as it's relevant to the theme that you're exploring,
Yes.
you will stay in your physical body.
Yes.
But you may find that the technology comes about, that you're able to stay young looking
Yes.
and have a completely different experience at 125 years old.
Absolutely, because you'll be living more in the moment. And the more you live in the moment, the less time you create to experience. And so you appear to be ageless. That's why even at 300, we still look like 30.
And this is all happening now and
Yes.
in our lifetime.
It's all happening now. Different people will experience different things in the so-called lifespan that you call the lifespan now. Not all of them are going to experience that because not all of them need to. You understand?
Yes.
But those for whom it's relevant will experience it.
And that's the key word, is relevance.
It's always the key. It really doesn't do you much good to say, is this possible? Of course it's possible. Anything is possible. The question is it probable? Is it relevant to me? That's the real question.
Okay, so thank you so much for explaining that in such great detail.
You are welcome. Thank you for asking in such great detail.
There's another question that came up from a listener, and it is, what can we do to raise the consciousness in the Middle East? How do we deal with being on a planet where we see what's happening there, and we would like to be on an Earth where that's not happening?
And eventually you will. But at this time, we cannot really address more of that area than we've already addressed. There are choices being made that are not necessarily the most positive choices, that have so much momentum behind them. They may just need to play out for certain people because they simply don't believe, and don't actually even at this point give themselves the capacity to believe that there is any other way to go about doing certain things. So if that's the route they're going to take, then they may have to force themselves through the eye of a needle before they come out the other side realizing they didn't have to do it that way.
Okay. And lastly,
Yes.
what is your perspective on the concept of hope?
That it's mostly unnecessary. Because if you know for a fact that you are an unconditionally loved and supported being, what do you need to hope for? In the way that most people on your planet mean it, it's just another way of saying, I'm trying to be positive, but I'm not really. I'm not sure I can be. I hope I can be. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to stop using the word in your language. We're not attempting to get you to walk on eggshells with your vocabulary. But understand deeply that many people who talk about hope don't really buy into the probability of what they're asking about. They're just kind of spinning a roulette wheel and hoping it falls on the right number. You understand? They're allowing themselves to experience life in a very random way instead of allowing themselves to know that if they simply choose a vibration, that there is absolutely, absolutely, absolutely nothing that can ever happen in their lives that isn't part of that vibration, no matter how it looks. So, it's not really about having hope in the negative sense. I'm not saying don't have hope in the positive sense. But hope in the positive sense is really just knowing that everything is okay, no matter how it looks. And when you know that, you'll experience that it is.
I guess when you experience the desire to feel hope, the idea is to remind yourself of what you really are and who you really are.
It can be used that way. We are simply saying that many people, when they resort to the idea of hope, it's just another way of saying they've already given up hope. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Does that help?
Yes.
All right.
All right. So, would you like to answer any more?
Are there any more questions?
Well, there was an interesting one that came that had to do with paradox.
Yes.
And a desire to hear you share some other paradoxes that maybe you haven't shared with us before.
Well, you know about the power of paradox, how to use the idea of what appear to be opposites to know that if you can see both sides, then that must mean they exist somewhere in harmony in the center. That might be something that can help you with your Middle East.
Elaborate a little more.
No. What is your
Okay.
timing?
I think this is about the end. So
Yes. And it is the beginning of the next chapter, which we will resume in tomorrow's transmission.
Well, I'm certainly happy that our history and our galactic history turned out to be a little bit different than what we were reading in the history books.
One of the things that will begin to happen when open contact occurs is that you will be given more and more of the true history of the universe and your reality on Earth. We thank you for the co-creation of this portion of the transmission. We will resume this transmission of the interstellar Enneagram tomorrow night of your time. Our unconditional love to you all. We bid you all an exciting and active good day.